Well, hello there, and welcome to the Spanish announce table Flashback. This is Timewarp Network Tidbits, and you'll know why we've shoehorned those three letters into it in just a moment. Basically, wrestling at the moment is a little bit weird. It's a strange sort of place, but if you think what's happening today is strange, if you sort of squint up the network there, roll yourself back to 1984. And join myself, Damien Stone, and my friend and colleague on this journey, Mr. Colin Barker, the Ginger Genius himself.
And you know what that is? That's genius.
Absolute genius.
It's the 29th of May, 1984. So this is a decade of 36 and a half years ago. Unfortunately, I remember I was a teenager at the time. And it's car crash television, for God's sake. I looked at this and gone, you can't say that. You can't do that. And, anyway, David will tell you about the format. It's on the WWE Network, Tuesday Night Titans, introduced by WWE's own David Letterman.
Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
And ably assisted by his butler,
Lord Alfred Hayes, who Vince McMahon referred to as Britain's Idi Amin.
Yeah, Britain's answer to Idi Amin. Now, I'm absolutely certain that Vince doesn't know that Idi Amin is from Uganda. I would have thought if this reference was to Kamala, I've actually been to Uganda. That's absolutely God's honest truth. And I've been just on Lake Victoria. We went to a wedding there. It was when I was working in Africa, and it was one of the diplomat's son's weddings, and we're in this resort near Kampala, that is in Uganda. Genius. And we were there for 2 or 3 days, and we got a boat, and they say, "Oh, do you want to go and see where Idi Amin's baboon?" Right? Okay. Well, I'm in for a penny, in for a blooming pound, me, you know. So anyway, the two of us in a boat. A boat driver, and a guy with a gun. Right, of course, I think two rich or well-to-do English folk in Uganda, you know, security was an aspect of this. I don't know how many years we're talking about now. We're talking about, could be 15 years, about 2003, 2004, something like that. Anyway, went to this island, and this baboon looked like it was on its last legs. It was like, this was supposed to be Idi Amin's pet and stuff like that. I think it was just to hook the blooming travellers and stuff like that. But lovely country, Kampala. I've actually got I bought some back in God We Trust or something like that, and it's all done. And the people are lovely. The forest, the ground, the land is beautiful for growing crops and stuff like that. If it was run correctly, Uganda would prosper. But of course, absolutely. It doesn't. But as Lord Alfred Hayes being called, Britain's answer to Idi Amin, highly unlikely, and there's 2 chances of that, and that's slim and none. And I'll tell you one thing, neither me or Damo is slim, so that's none. But it gets worse when he utters the next thing about Idi Amin. Did you notice that? When he suggests that Afra and Sika, the Wild Samoans, are protégés of him. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, Samoa, Uganda, there's nowhere near. There's no chance they would have met. You know, I mean, Wild Samoans, Africa, Samoa, nowhere near each other. Vincent Kennedy McMahon, give yourself a shake.
I mean, this is the thing: is geography, and when it comes to Africa, it's completely all over the place. I mean, assuming that Samoa's there, I mean, it wouldn't be too long before the one-man gang had his little dalliance there, where he turned into a Keeman, as apparently from deepest, darkest Africa. Yeah. Didn't specify which type of it, but judging by the amount of melanin in his skin, I'm guessing South America, on the right side of the apartheid that was going on.
I would say the IQ of a custard cream. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. You know, no points out of 10. Vince, you got that one wrong again. But we'll get there. But no, the program is set, and it's like a David Letterman type chat show with a guests and stuff like that. And Vince is there all in his like wedding suit and looking smart. And I'm Vince McMahon and this is my show. And there's Lord Alfred with he's got a blue frilly top and a bow tie. He looks a proper gentleman, doesn't he? And I love his accent.
I had to double take 2 or 3 times during the program because I don't know if it was the cameras or anything, but every now and again it looked like the bow tie changed to purple and then back to dark blue again. But I think that might have been a studio lighting. But
we'll hope so, shall we? We'll hope so. Because of the shenanigans and malarkey we get up to later, he might have had to change.
Very, very true. I mean, that's the thing, that the weird skyline thing that they had in the background of the set here. When I saw that, the first thing I thought of was the old Fritz Lang film Metropolis. Yeah,
it is like that 1920s era of architecture and stuff like that. But I initially thought of Late Night Letterman and stuff like that. Vince just wants to be a Billy Big Jules, and I nearly said something I shouldn't then. I might end up saying it anyway, but don't worry about it. And you think, well, Vince, I bet it was you that thought this was a good idea for you to do this. After I've watched it, and we've got, I think there's about 96 episodes of this to watch, I'm sure he's going to get a shoeing off me in the...
I love the way, like, when he sort of opens it up with the and this is quite a different handling of the World Wrestling Federation, as if it wasn't his idea. It's like,
who should we put in charge? You could have put Mean Gene in front of it, or even Bobby Heenan doing it, because I think that would have been classic. Mean Gene, he gets out of the interview, and or Bobby Heenan doing his weasel tricks and stuff like that, or even Gorilla. But that came after, when they did like 4-man shows, when you did have the repartee between Heenan and Gorilla and stuff like that.
Oh, the primetime shows were brilliant. For stuff like that, I mean, so that was the thing. Like there was, I don't know if you've come across the pilot 2 episodes that they did of the Bobby Heenan show.
No. They're on the network somewhere.
I think they are.
I'm going to have to write that down. So just get me a book. It's red, so it's important. Right. Bobby Heenan. What's it called? Bobby Heenan Show.
Yeah.
2 episodes, 2 pilot episodes. Is it Car Crash? Is it Super Car Crash? Or Mega Car Crash?
It's kind of... It's like the wit's there with it, but I think the stuff that he had thrown at him didn't really click with it. Right. But it's like, again, it was the host and co-host thing, but Jameson was the co-host. So it was basically Bobby Heenan ripping Jameson to bits all the way through.
Yeah, so it was like plaiting fog then, or putting an ashtray on a motorbike.
Pretty much, like it was. I mean, it's like, it could have worked if it was in a slightly different format, or if they'd thought about the material a bit more. But
you win some, you lose some. But we have got classic gold tonight, and it's great fun. Great fun.
Oh, yeah.
We get our first match next, don't we? We get our first match, and it's B. Brian Blair versus Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Yeah. Oh, it's it was an interesting little match. This it was before the Killer Bees as well.
It was. Jumping Jim Brunzelli was with, wasn't he?
Yeah. It was. It was was it WrestleMania 2? That was it. It was Mania 2. That thing.
Inconsequential. If I'm not sure, I'll bluff my way through. Anyway,
that's all for the future.
Usually, you'd think these matches are going to be squashes, but in this era, there was always the opportunity, or the subordinate, shall we say, the jobber, at least had a chance, and he put up a heck of. I remember getting close to the end where Blair dives at Orndorff and goes straight through the ropes and lands on a heap on the floor, and he did land in a heap. And I'm thinking, but Orndorff, so he had such great heel appeal, didn't he? He
He
knew
did.
how to wind people up. You know, this is my ring. I own you. I own you. I own you. I could own the world title if I want to. And you're thinking, you Pratt, you know you're good. And he's just filling you up now. And you think,
Well, he was in pretty much many respects Mr. Wonderful by nature as well as Damien.
he had dark hair in this match, didn't he? Not his normal blonde, didn't he? I think I remember he had dark hair.
Slightly darker version of the blonde area.
He's still built like a brick outhouse, like though, wasn't he?
Oh yeah.
He was a sculpture. He was magnificent. But you know, he can't win cleanly, can he? He just can't get that clean win. There's always got to be some little shenanigan.
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit of malarkey. And can you remember how it ended, David, or not?
It was it was a hook of the trunks how it ended there, but I mean, this was after.
It was like a roll through, and then he grabbed the lad's red trunks, pulled him back over. The referee had gone down to the side, didn't see this large handful of trunks, keep him down. He was nearly touching the rope, was Blair, like, and I was thinking, but anyway, and of course, we had commentators on that one. It was Vince McMahon and the dear old sweet old fellow, Mean Gene, and of course, heel and face and stuff like that. And Mean Gene standing up for justice, and this is an outrage, and stuff like this. And I'm thinking, look, it's Orndorff. He wasn't going to lose. He was just, he sold it really well. And it was a decent enough match. You know, some of the matches you're going to talk about later, you think, you couldn't put them on an arena now.
Exactly.
No way. Yeah, people would say, what? You can't do that. And thinking that the night that you would have seen when we look at these matches near the end and stuff like that, you couldn't get away with that. You couldn't get away with that. But we'll see. But next, they did a promo with Mean Gene and a detestable gentleman, which I don't feel aggrieved to give, as Dr. D, David Schultz.
Yes, the man who could have very well had a completely different career if it hadn't been for that one particular incident.
Yes, we'll talk about it. Just to describe him to our listeners and viewers, Dr. D, he was 6'6", and a tall, muscular, blonde, permy hair, like an afro, didn't he?
Yeah, that was.
I don't think, well, fair enough. But what he reminded me of, you remember when Kane's first inception as Isaac Yankem, DDS?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
He looked a spit. When I first saw David Schultz, I always want to call him Dwight Schultz, but Dwight Schultz is off the A-team. If I say Dwight Schultz, I mean David Schultz, okay? And he's like big, tall, blonde perm, and that's what Yankem was. So people could get an idea what it was like. He was like a monster. But there's one thing about him. He was a patronising old swine.
He was like, and I mean, that's what I mean. He seemed to bounce off Mean Gene fairly well as well for most of this interview. I mean, the guy was an absolute beast. You know, I mean, he could. I mean, if the thing had worked out in Japan that he was wanting to do as well, I mean, that could have really, sort of saved things. But he was built for all Japan essentially.
We are skipping around the big problem with Dr. D, David Schultz. And if any of you have seen Dark Side of the Ring, it's a very in-depth, like documentary type of thing about shenanigans in wrestling. And it's all about a reporter from 2020, which is a USA magazine, a TV program, and a lad called John Stossel, Stossel. And it's alleged, and it did happen, that Schultz gave him a good slapping, knocked him down a couple of times, and it ended up the athletic board suspended Schultz on the night for doing it. Rumours are that Schultz was told to do this, but that is, of course, unproved, and that's only an allegation. And it ended up settling out of court at Mr. Stossel and the WWF for a magnificent figure of, David.
You've got us off the top of your head there. The counters are rolling.
$280,000. And in 1984, that's a lot of money.
For
giving someone a slapping.
I mean, that's the thing. That's the price of kayfabe, though. You know, it's like when if a reporter comes up to you and asks and says, "Oh, I think it's fake," when you've just been out there and had a absolutely like really risky match. You know what I mean? You've had a long grueling match. You come back and you get sidelined with that. Someone says, "I think it's fake," and he quite rightly got a clip around the ear.
He had to write an apology, and he was out the door pretty soon after that. Anyway, but at this point, he is hale, patronising, not a pleasant gentleman at all. But he is a brick outhouse, and we're going to a match with Dr. D, David Schultz, and a guy called Billy Travis, who I have no idea who he is.
The name rings a bell from somewhere, but I couldn't find any information on him.
The only Travis I know, and he was, it's either the pop group or he was on Blake 7. That's the only Travis I know. But Billy Travis, King Jobber. He was a jobber, and he did get jobbed around a lot. Put it this way.
He got completely ragdolled by the doctor.
He got a good, to use a phrase from Lord Alfred, he got a good shellacking.
Yep, very good shellacking, yeah.
It just didn't end well for the lad, but, it only ended one way, Dr. T being the winner and stuff like that. But he's just a thoroughly detestable person. He's still alive. He's 65 now anyway, so no doubt.
Yeah, he was very much alive and kicking. Still, I think he's still fairly bitter about the whole thing today. But, as you'll see if you check out that Dark Side of the Ring episode, which I believe is on all 4 in the UK under Vice.
I'll have a look at that. I haven't seen this series. They tell me the Owen Hart one is the big one.
Yeah, the Owen Hart one and obviously the Benoit one as well, which was But that's another story for another day. We might actually go down that route someday, but it's not today because we're still on the 29th of May 1984, 36 years ago, watching WWF television going, for God's sake, what's this? I was 5 months old when this aired. I was still in the crib.
I was just coming up to my 18th birthday, so I should have known better at this point. But I was probably watching this and thinking, this is absolutely fabulous. This is great. This is. And then I'm looking now. I've had my 18th birthday 3 times now, so
it's all good.
Get on with it, but fine. And then it goes from bad to worse, where they do an absolute section where the cameras are invited round to Dr. D and David Schultz's home, and it's like a log cabin out in the countryside.
I love the way that because he's southern and it's like on a farm sort of thing. They start off with the shot of the cow, and just and sort of move out from there. It's like as if Vince hadn't seen the footage before, because you hear him cut in and say, and we'll very shortly be moving in, but while this sort of pan's happening towards the house, so he sort of cuts into it, trying to remind people that there is a segment coming up.
We're off into David's house, and he wears, when he answers the door, he's got a vest on, and he's got the shortest of shorts on as well. Now, I remember in the 80s, footballers used to wear these short shorts, and David was wearing them short shorts, and I think that's not really acceptable nowadays. At least it's not covering up a lot, I must admit. But you think, well, you know, get a good pair of baggy. Well, everything I have to wear is baggy anyway, but I tend to tighten it up a bit with my obesity, unfortunately. But you can't win them all, can you? But
I know that feeling there.
Yeah, we go into the house and we meet his beautiful, shall we say, a woman. Go and get the dinner ready, wife. You know, this is how he talks to me. And the two kids, he just two young lads and stuff like that. He just gives tongue lashings to all the way through, patronising, male chauvinist pig. He's a brute, and the lovely lass. She puts some tea on, and he has a meltdown, doesn't he?
Yeah, I just say the pizza and chicken was not good enough for them, and he decides to kick it, and he basically kicks everyone up there. I mean, there is a bit there where it's like the one child that's left at the table. You're sort of wondering for a minute, is he actually going to reach over and just belt the kid? You know,
I think he would have done. I think he would have done. You know, and you know, knowing the you know, I put down here. You know, he's going to slap the smile from his kid's face and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm no snowflake, not at all. But you know, you don't hit kids, you don't
no.
Stuff like that. But Jesus Christ, even now, what we're going through and speaking out and stuff like that, it's just completely unacceptable. And usually, WWF should have been looking at these are the, you know, 1984. Is it really relevant now? I know when I listen to BBC 4 Radio Extra, and you listen to all comedies and stuff like that, and they always say, this may be a bit dated, and, you know, people's thoughts then are not like the people's thoughts now. And you're thinking, no, they're not. And definitely in this instance, it is.
It is like it is. This is somewhat less culturally sensitive and less. You know, and obviously standards were different there, and standards of behaviour were very different at this time.
And when the segment finishes, Vince turns to Lord Alfred Hayes, and this surprised me out of Lord Alfred. He says, he is a sick person. He's only very intentional and very selfish. And I'm thinking, you've got that about right on the dot you have there, Lord Alfred Hayes. But, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And I know if he's trying to knock up his heel persona and stuff like that, but Jesus Christ, you know, if you were putting a promo and a leg together, you would not think of doing something like that.
No, definitely not. No. I mean, that's bordering on. Well, I'd say bordering it going to over as well. Domestic abuse,
child beating and wife, child beating and wife beating, isn't it? But that's where it was heading, really, wasn't it? You know.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just shocking. Anyway, let's brighten our day up, where we come to see our Intercontinental Champion,
Tito Santana. Oh, yes. He was. Tito. God bless him. You know, he gets out there and he's they talk about meeting the fans, and in the space of a very short interview, Vince McMahon manages to mention the kid's name as Chris Beavers 4 or 5 times, putting emphasis on Beavers.
Whenever you wear Beavers, I'm not thinking of those little fluffy creatures.
Yeah, it's like he's blatantly just taking.
That's one point to me, right?
Absolutely.
But Tito, he's a workhorse.
He is like
skilled in ring, 2 times Intercontinental Champion, 2 times Tag Team Champion. And did you know this? That in 1989, he won the King of the Ring tournament.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that surprised me as well. Yeah. And he wrestled in every WrestleMania between 1 and 9. And he was put in the Hall of Fame in 2004. And you know what that is?
That's genius.
No,
absolutely.
I just do my planning and preparation to make sure I illuminate and educate our masses out there to increase their IQ by at least into double figures anyway. Hopefully they get into 3 figures, but we'll see how it goes.
This is where I hit the Google machine and try and figure out which year it was that Tito Santana turned up in Chikara's King of Trios.
Yeah, and I love watching Tito. And when he came back as El Matador, I think I was 91 to 93 off the top of my head. You know, it was his heyday, where he ended up losing to everyone. You know, just to put over the young guys and stuff like that. But that's what veterans do. You put over the good guys because they're the future. And of course,
exactly.
when the young ones get through, they'll always remember this, and you know, you'll get the slaps on the back, not the kick up the backsides. But no, absolutely. And then we see a match where they put Tito in with Adrian Adonis.
You know, again, this was an era of Adrian Adonis's work that I'd never seen, because, like, whenever I've seen Adonis before, even when I went back and watched like a lot of old stuff as well, I've always missed Adrian Adonis when he had the dark hair. You know, it was like always when he bleached his hair blonde and started to fill out a little bit. That
fill out. He was as fat as me.
Oh, he was. I mean, his physique at his physique a couple of years down the line, it was starting to go.
He was starting to go, but he was a big, strong lad. He was a big, lad. And he was mean. He was mean as well. But
he was.
The putting Tito against Adonis. Adonis then joined up. I can't remember who it was, but he became tag team champion quite soon after that. Anyway, but
was it
Big Murdoch? I think.
Ah, yeah, I was thinking it was the.
And no, Adonis. He has beautiful facial expressions. He has wonderful mannerisms. And when I talk to a lot of wrestlers and stuff like that, I say, use your face. You know, tell a story with your face. You always remember the Steve Austin and the blood running down the face and stuff like that. Oh, sell it. You know, really sell that fall and stuff like that. You know, I want you to exaggerate what happened. You know, you didn't just hit the floor. You bounced, you know.
Oh,
and Adonis, he was fantastic at this, especially near the end where Adonis, and he's a big hefty lad. Would you suggest he'd be about 300 pound?
Yeah.
And he decides to get up to that top corner, and you think, this is not going to end well. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to do a senton? Are you going to do a frog splash? What are you going to do? Nothing. What happens is, and you know where I'm going with this, don't you?
Oh yeah. This was the second of three.
Yeah, and put it this way: he was singing in a higher octave when he fell off the corner, landed on the top rope, and crotched himself. And I'm thinking, yeah, I know it's supposed to happen, but I hope he's got him tucked up there because it will hurt.
I mean,
dear me.
I mean, it's like the first time when he went into the corner and went teabag first into the middle turnbuckle.
Yeah.
then the one on the top rope, and he ended up doing the same on the guardrail on the outside as well. It's like the same match. Like, did he enjoy it? Did he enjoy it that much the first time?
Well, he probably had winnets or something like that.
He's trying to shift them, you know.
If you don't know what winnets are, look it up in a dictionary.
Urban dictionary.
Very urban. But no, I do love Tito's work, and Adonis, he's just that heel big jobber who you put against just to it. But the match ended a draw at the end, or a time limit draw.
Yeah, the time limit expired.
Time limit.
I was thinking if the whole idea of this segment was to put Tito Santana over. Surely, I mean, unless you're building to another match between him and Adonis, then surely you would sort of show him winning.
Yeah, but didn't, time expired, It was very much like I was watching a Halloween Havoc between stunning Steve Austin and Dustin Rhodes, who was 21 at Halloween Havoc, and the time expired on that. And, Dustin at that point is only 21. And, and I think, wow, you're a big, strong lad. And, he wailed it. And Austin had the big flowing hair and Lady Blossom as his valet at the time. And he was a TV champion. And and time expired. Not many times now you have a time expired match on WWE. And I think a time expired match lets you know the length of a match as well, but you can get enough content in and everyone's still got their integrity at the end of it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good way to get a match without really, without anyone getting hurt, as you say there, without anyone.
It's like a double count out or a run in and stuff like that, or a time limit draw. Sometimes it just heightens it a bit. So, next time, well, these two horses are going to go at it again. And that's fantastic. So I can see where you're coming from with that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. But,
oh, yeah, it was
still with Adonis getting crushed on that top rope thing.
Oh, that was, he didn't half take it, so to speak.
Yeah. Then we go into some random section where people have written letters to Vince and Lord Alfred Hayes, and I'm thinking, what's the point of this?
This is where this is one thing. Like when someone offset chucked that mailbag in there, Alfred Hayes genuinely looked like he was going to get up there and walk across and plant whoever.
If that had been a postman in England, I would have sacked him, But God's sake, the letters come out with. They were shocking. What was it? Could you send me a photograph of someone? An next one was something salacious about Lord Alfred Hayes and some shenanigans. And I'm thinking, that's the end of the segment. And I'm just thinking, what was the point of this? It was pointless.
This is one of the only times one of the only times I think I'd seen Vince actually mention the competition as well in one of these letters, because some fellow was saying that there was another wrestling, another set of wrestling, another wrestling program on another channel or something.
Yeah.
And he was on about people with face paint and such So he was blatantly watching the NWA, and he had the Road Warriors and the rest of sort of that crew. The Powers of Pain and that, and Vince McMahon's words at the end of that one again. So I'm sure we'll see some of these competitors very soon.
It's just Vince is always vindictive. He's petty-minded. He just wants retribution and revenge. Oh, did I say retribution? Well, that sounds like something of the current WWE, doesn't it?
Oh yeah,
or is that me and one of the two anyway? But then when you think 1984 is an old match, we then see a match, and it's in black and white, isn't it? It's in black and white.
Yes, this was there.
Arnold Scarlett versus Joe Turco, and there's only one funny part in this, isn't there?
I think this is the double whammy from Vince when he
this is the smoking one.
Yeah, Vince he's famous for not really liking people smoking, and he's also famously a fan of toilet humor. So when the excellent from someone's cigarette sort of goes in, comes up in between the camera and Joe Turco's backside, Vince is all too quick to point out that it is indeed the smoker's smoke and not Joe Turco's internal gases.
And you're thinking, what? You say that, man. And then he doesn't leave it, does he?
No.
We get into the next segment, and he's still on about it. It's a farting joke. That's all it is. It's a farting joke. You didn't need to even put it in. I think the match we saw with Arnold Scarlett, I don't think he got to an end. It was just 90 seconds or something like that. And I thought the only relevance of this was so he could get a farting joke in.
Yep, that was the size of it.
What else is it? It's a farting joke. And then we come on to the main part of the show.
Oh, now, yes.
We've all seen Mary Berry and British Bake Off, and you've got Jamie Oliver and stuff like that doing things in the kitchen. Now,
good old Delia Smith.
Yeah, Delia Smith, showing your age. Now, who are the last two folk you would think about putting in a kitchen, doing a kitchen demonstration? And it's the Wild Samoans, Alfred and Seeker.
Oh, yes.
Number one, it starts off with Lord Alfred saying, I can smell something pungent and odorous, and I'm thinking, it's probably Vince's fart jokes or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, you see, we pan over to Afra and Seeker at the table, and there's a cooking pot, and all of a sudden, Vince goes over and says, come on, Alfred, come over here. And Lord Alfred Hayes is like this, oh, that much odor. Oh, it stinks like and it gets, and he gets this big fish out to one of the and no joke, it's about 3 foot long, isn't it? 3 foot long.
It's a big old fish that he's got there.
And he just slaps it on the counter. That's the fish, I mean. Slaps it on the counter. That's 2 to me. Right, okay.
Oh yeah, I think that may have been in the in one of the earlier takes that he did that.
Can't win them all. Anyway, and then of course, well, are we going to see Mary Berry and stuff like that? Just watch him gently gut the fish and do this. No, that doesn't. Tell the viewers and listeners what he does.
He basically dissects this thing in pretty much record time. Just straight off with the head.
It's like he's a. Then chucks it in the pot.
It's like the head.
and the Samoans are eating. You can see him tasting the guts and stuff like that. And I think, and then they're passing something to Alfred Hayes. Would you like some? And like Alfred's going, no. Vince, go on, Lord Alfred. It's just it should be all right. They eat it. They seem like it. And Alfred is going, no, not at all. And I think,
it's
raw fish, deadly, and it wasn't gutted. It wasn't even cut or prepared, was it? It was just a fish.
Yeah,
they would chop it up, and the segments are about like 6 inches wide, just sawing through it there, and all the way down the fish, and just chucking each bit in the pot. And I'm thinking, flipping heck.
Oh, they're certainly playing the savage card well, which is what the stereotype was at the time.
They didn't speak a word of English all through this. It was Alfred Hayes and Vince doing, and all you could hear was the two of them muttering in a foreign language. And I'm thinking, well, you might as well have got Animal and Hawk to do it, because what a rush.
This idea of me, of them giving the Doomsday device to a massive tuna fish.
I could see Imperium Walter with a big knife, and the boys sorting that out. But dear me, I can't. I just couldn't believe it. It's a cook thing, and it lasts about 10 minutes as well. And it's like it's grisly, isn't it? And you see him put in the pot, and you're thinking.
I mean, the amount of time that Vince spends goading Alfred Hayes into trying to get him to taste a bit, and eventually he's got like this big lump of something that came out of the fish. She looks more like the gut than anything else. But you see him take a really tiny sort of bite, and then
he's about barking, isn't he? He's about barking. Alfred and Seeker, for everyone's information, 3 times WWE Tag Team Champions. With the infamous manager we're going to come on to later, Captain Lou Albano. But it's just car crash television, absolutely bananas anyway. And then we go into a championship tag team match with Alpha and Seeker as champions versus, nice to see the boys, Tony Atlas and Rocky Johnson.
Yeah, the Rock's dad in there. Yeah, that's it. And Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, or as some people who watched him for 3 weeks further down the line may remember him as Saba Simba. I think that's about how long that lasted.
You can't do that. It's just like they say. There's another Africa joke about Idi Amin and stuff like that. Yeah. You can't do it. You can't do it. And of course, the Wild Samoans are ably assisted by that gentleman called Captain Lou Albano.
Oh, yeah.
And put it this way, he dresses worse than you, Damien.
Oh, no.
He dresses worse than you. Can you get that laggy band on that bit of beard down here? Can you get that laggy band just round down here?
I did have at one time, but I didn't manage to get the one to stick out of my face like he had.
How do you think? Do you think he just put a bit of spot of super glue on his face or something like that?
I don't know. I think he might have actually had some kind of piercing there, or some kind of scar or something. I don't know.
It's like on here. It looked.
Yeah,
it looked shit.
It's like someone's. It did like.
It looked like a little bead here. I thought he had the plague or something like that, you know. But dear me, no, a lovely match. Two sets of big horses knocking 7 bells out of each other. I'd say all of them are over 260 pounds and stuff like that. And when these boys start hitting horse kicks and punches and slaps and stuff like that, it's going to leave a mark, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's the thing. They definitely worked snug as far as I'm aware as well. The Samoans.
Sluggers is definitely, and the end comes in this match, and as usual, it's our erstwhile new friend, Captain Lou Albano, while the referee has had a bump, isn't it? The referee's got bumped accidentally, and in comes Albano with, and they do specify this absolutely, it is an oak chair. Now, they're saying oak, so you might think it hurts a bit more. But it's just a chair. It's just a wooden chair. It'll be a cheap, well, it's got to be a cheap Balsa wood one or something like that, because it wouldn't waffle someone with an oak chair, put it that way. Anyway, Albano, he smashes it over one of the Samoans instead of over.
If he managed to smash like oak boards like a chair like that, then someone's getting brain damage. You know what I mean?
There'll be a lot of concussion in it anyway. So the function in the junction, referee, because it was a no holds barred, no disqualification tag team championship match, which I've never heard of before. But anyway, so the Samoans are waffled by their own manager, to which Atlas and Rocky Johnson pick up the win and become the new tag team champions.
You've got to love that visual though. Just straight after the chair shot, where he's like the frame of the chair is still around the Seeker. I think it was Seeker's head as he just sort of collapsed. It's just sort of. It was like someone had put a picture frame over it or something.
Yeah, a picture frame with a large wooden chair. You idiot, Albano. But no, he certainly waffled him. And then and then we come out of that, and then McMahon berates it and says, unfortunately, the Atlas and Johnson are now in this segment where we're tag team champions, and now it's Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdoch are the champions. And I think, you didn't need to say that. Give them the glory. You know, these two boys have won the championship. You know, you don't know how far back it was and stuff like that, if it was a week or a month. But
that's the thing with these. You can never really sort of get a handle on the continuity unless they actually mentioned it week to week. It's like they pick and choose. I mean, they had a whole library of footage from different house shows and that, and different sort of spot shows. And they could basically put it together any way, shape, or form they like.
And you know, you might as well have had the Samoans in a squash match against someone, and you watch them, powerful big lads, ragdoll these guys, sort it out, clean win. You know, there you go, top of the world. But this was just to show that Albano was a nitwit and cost them the title, because then we come on to the next guest of Vince and Lord Alfred Hayes, still sat there in his blue frilly top and his bow tie, was Alfred Hayes. And he sits there and you can see him thinking all the time. And he's just waiting to ask a pertinent, deep question that's going to, you know, undermine their guest. And of course, next up is Captain Lou and Vince straight in there. So we see you cost the Wild Samoans the match by our actions, and then he just goes off on one, doesn't he?
Yeah, it took a couple of goals to translate off of this stuff, because he talks at a mile a minute, Lou Albano, and some of the back chat that he gives Vince nobody else was ever going to get away with. I think there was some history behind that with when he took the company over from his dad. They kept Albano on, but Albano basically, he was one of the few people who had carte blanche that could really give.
He was the manager to tag team champions 14 times, and he listed out who he'd managed and stuff like that. But 14 times manager to world champions, absolutely critical, marvelous. But he had that heel persona. I don't think he was ever face. He was always heel and winding folks up. But that's what he was excellent at. He could get in your face and stuff like that. And, you know, all the audience, you know, you look at the demographic of the audience and stuff like that. And it wasn't kids, was it? It was full-bodied ladies and gentlemen, and sat there with their handbags on there. Well, the ladies especially. But no, it's absolutely different demographics then. And yeah, Albano, he's what he did have. He had a quick mind and a quick mouth. He
did,
He could turn things around. And I know in this interview he says, "I've got an IQ of 157." Da 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 da. And I'm thinking, no, you haven't. No, you haven't. And, you know, only a genius has an IQ of 150, and he is nowhere near my genius, I'm quite sure. But no, but you know, he's just, you know, you can't take it away from him. You know,
he's an absolute enigma. You know, it's like he's one of the most out there personalities in wrestling, and that's really, you know, I mean, that's saying something to be fair. And you've seen like how many personalities are that are like completely off the wall. That this is genuinely sort of like when he gets going, it's, you know, it's like an out of control chainsaw. You know, it's like he's
like a runaway train, isn't he? And his speech just gets faster and louder and stuff like that. And you think, don't give yourself a heart attack, don't give yourself a stroke. Just, you know, get the words out there. And then we're now coming to the end of the show after Vincent started saying to Albano, "How much money do you keep off the Samoans and stuff like that?" And he says, "Oh, just give me enough. Give him a car and a little bit of pocket money and stuff like that." And Cyndi Lauper, how much did you take off her? 75%. Should have been 150%. The ungrateful, da 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 da. I think, yeah, good for you, Albano, you know, stuff like that. But it's just cementing his heel persona.
I love the way he took complete credit for Cyndi Lauper. Like, he's probably running down what she was before. I made Cyndi Lauper. I found her. I was like, yeah, she was on the streets of New York. Stuff like that.
He never stops. He never stops. We come to the end title sequence where we start seeing some matches with some of the bigger superstars. This is obviously the Titans on Tuesday. We get to see them at the end. And
this was the thing with Andre the Giant against 3 people.
Andre versus 3, and you think you could do that in a house show, and then it's Hulk Hogan against the masked superstar who had he wore a mask, and you think he had a plate in here because Hulk went to punched him, and then suggested that there was some type of foreign object, and love him. I love him all my life. Gene Okerlund, you know, he starts off on one when he thinks there's a foreign object in there, and he's flipping heck. But and then we see a lovely little piece with Jimmy Snuka and Greg Hammer Valentine. You know,
Greg Valentine still looks exactly the same now. It's like, I don't know what it is, like face wise, he never changed. There's probably a painting of him somewhere in that was done in his mid-20s. That's somewhere in an attic, just getting older and older.
Well, you know, he's had a great life as Greg with wrestling and stuff like that.
Valentine's a fantastic wrestler.
And Snuka, God rest his soul now, but there's that dark side of him that we never ever got to the bottom of, and we never will. Some people know what happened, but I don't want to talk about it, to be honest.
No. I mean, if people are interested in that to the point they want to check it out, then that's another episode of Dark Side of the Ring, which is on, it's available online and on demand. Yeah. Well worth a watch, but be ready to sort of realize that it's going to go to a dark place.
Yeah. We're coming to the end of the show now. I'm just going to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Out of 10, what would you give this show? Out of 10?
I mean, you know, I like if I'm going to watch like silliness in wrestling. If I'm going to watch silliness in wrestling, I like to see it done completely over the top. This is a solid 8 out of 10 for me.
It is. It is. If you want your eyes popping out and going, they can't do that. It's an episode. Cooking with the Wild Samoans, 29th of May 1984, WWE Network, Tuesday Night Titans.
What was your take on it? What did you give it? I mean, this was the first time you'd watched it, wasn't it?
I've watched it twice now. I watched it early in the week, and I watched it today. Today, we're actually recording this on Saturday, where both of us should be at a North Wrestling event tonight.
We should be.
And me and Damo, when we're at North, we have an agreement. We have a drinking agreement. You know.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I just give Damo the money and he just comes back with pints and stuff like that. And then it's Damo's turn and, you know, we just have a great time. We both love just going back to our backgrounds really in wrestling, and so we haven't really talked about that. I don't really want to leave for another night. I might as well tell you what. Me and Damo met. It was at North, wasn't it? And we've been friends 3 or 4 years now, haven't we? And you know, I think it was the alcohol and the wrestling, and you know, we're big good mates since, and as we Spanish announce table and stuff like that. And we'll go to Rise, Tidal, Progress. We go all over the place, and it's something that brightens up our sad lives. Yeah, and you know,
that's the thing. It's a brilliant experience, isn't it? It's a brilliant shared experience that we all just enjoy.
What people say, you go to wrestling, yeah. So you go to football. That's shit. You know, we go to wrestling, and that's fantastic.
Exactly.
So many possibilities, and it's all about creative writing, and it's got to, you know, all the stories have got to get you in depth. I remember, I'll tell you a story. We'll tell a story about North and Amir Jordan's progress, and he was on 6 shows and he lost every one, didn't he? He was getting hammered left, right, centre, and it came to NCL 9 just to knock on North's door and stuff like that. And at that point, it was the first one I'd missed. Now, this was when I went in for my first cancer operation in 2018. And I love Andrew Bowers and Tom Campbell and Chop all up at North because they knew I was in for an operation. And it was Amir Jordan, if I don't win this. And the pit him against Nathan Cruz, the show stayed at Eddie's. And Nathan is a professional, a real professional. And and this was Let the Cannon Fly 1, wasn't it? With the infamous scramble match.
Yeah.
Fart on and stuff like that. And of course, Amir won. And the shed roof came off. And there was people with tears in their eyes because they were that invested in that storytelling. And it was over like six programs and stuff like that. So there was a long story arc to it as well. And everyone was willing Amir to win, and he won, and everyone was so pleased. And I know Mr. Bowers said to me, "Get well soon, Carl." And he sent me details so I could watch the video as soon as it got edited and stuff like that. And I'm eternally grateful to them. It got me through my recovery, and I'm here stronger than ever. But you know, you've got to remember who your friends are, and wrestling is a big friend to me and to my good mate Tamo.
Absolutely.
And it just makes us smile.
Yeah, and one day we'll, like I said, one day, hopefully very soon, we'll be out there in a crowd again.
And our livers will be taking a testing, no doubt.
Oh yes, most definitely.
and you can already feel like the crowd who will be there with you. And I know at North we've got something called the North Faithful, which is just like the throng of people who are regular participants and come along. You know, it's a big love wrestling fest, and you know, and I'm not saying just don't go to any type of wrestling. You know, we'll say North, Tidal, CCW, who I'm associated with at present, and Rise, and they've done outdoor matches this year.
Oh yeah,
Great
they've been innovating. I mean, their thing at base camp, that was the hardcore match between the sober version of Danny O'Doherty and Michael Caden, which is up there to watch online now as well.
Yeah.
I mean, up here as well. I mean, you got like your Full Tilt, you got MEW, Contract, and Shield as well. You know, the
FTW.
Yeah, it's like you got like.
Yeah.
UCW. Forgot about that. Yeah, I don't know why. It's like there's 7 or 8 companies that are all easily accessible by a metro line. You know what I mean? And it's great. We're in a brilliant region for wrestling up here.
Yeah, we're strong up here, and even going down to Temple of Boom. Have you got your Temple of Boom T-shirt on there, Demo?
Yep, certainly.
So you haven't got changed. Neither have I. But that's fun. At the Brodenell Club, where Rise do some shows. And,
did I tell you where the new 3 places for title are going to be next year? I mean, I think I might have let one slip in the on the Spanish announce table, which will be airing Wednesday.
Okay.
So at the UKW Arena in Batley, as the Parish in Huddersfield, which is a fairly well regarded venue that usually hosts music events down there. And the other one, the one in Leeds, in Leeds itself, Leeds Museum Auditorium.
Why not?
They're going to have title wrestling in Leeds Museum itself.
It'll sell. It'll sell. And it's all about the first company that puts on a safe show, whether it's within the current regulations in COVID-19 or after. You know, I'm gagging to spend a lot of money in a lot of weeks going to see my faves slapping the bejesus out of each other, and the funny stories and the alcohol, of course, and then having to stay somewhere overnight because trains don't run us like that. But, you know, it's all about friendship and fun and a bit of a laugh. And it's happy places for us all. And that's what wrestling's all about.
Yeah. I
know today. Well,
this is the thing at the minute, what we've got, all we've really got for now is what we're seeing online. But that, like I say, that will change in the near future. But while we're watching the online stuff, we should really mention that World War Wrestling down in Stowmarket. I believe both Will Cruz and possibly Erin Jacobs. I was trying to remember the
Joe Porritt.
Yeah, I believe they both competed for World War Wrestling, but they've got a series on at the minute, which is what would have been their big show for the year, Battle at the Barn, which it is held without an audience there, but they're putting it out for free on YouTube. It's
good for them.
Magic.
Good for them. And of course, as everyone knows, I'm Will Cruz's #1 fan, and if Dan Griffin was here, I know what he'd say.
He's big, he's bad, he's he'll body slam your dad, Will Cruz.
He will body slam you. And I keep getting accused of being Will Cruz's dad as well. So, but no, Will, absolutely. I remember seeing him first at North, and he fought Screwface, and he blew out his knee, and he continued through the match and stuff like that. And you know, you're thinking he's a big horse to start with, you know, and a horse on one leg is it's immense.
Okay.
And, you know, ultra respect for the guy. And you know, even on social media, he's a cheeky lad. He's a cheeky lad when he gets going and stuff like that. And his battles with Rampage are great to see and stuff like that. So, you know,
I'll see if I can dig out the footage, because I can't remember whether I've shown it or not. But the footage of him from the academy that he trained at in Lincoln, where himself and Brett Myers, they had some absolutely epic matches. Down there, and I'll dig them out, and I'll find a way to show you them.
Oh, absolutely fine. You know, I know like Robbie X, Will Cruz, I'm sure they'll come up to North and up to Newcastle in the North region, and they're both excellent performers, and love them to death, absolutely love them to death. But that's we're coming to the end of this week's show, and we'll no doubt have another hot one for you next week.
Absolutely, yeah. What's the subtitle on next week on the next TNT?
I haven't had a look. We'll keep it as a surprise. I should have written it down on my list, but I haven't. So it's going to be a surprise for you boys, unless Damo edits something onto the end of this.
I'll keep it as a surprise, because it's going to be. Yeah. I mean, we've sort of found the level already with the Samoan Cookery segment, and of course Captain Lou Albano, who we are going to come to revel in his performances, I believe.
Can we just say, like, we're going to have like a priority list of 1 to 100 or whatever, and where we would place it. And currently, it's at number 1, and this is mainly for the Samoans and the fish. That's number 1 for now. And next week we will either still number 1 or number 2. And over the weeks we will come out with our definitive list of which one's the best one to watch. And I've enjoyed it. Thanks for inviting me, Damo. You are a good friend of mine. And I hope there's no St. Peter's tonight, is there?
No, not after last night. I've got enough to get us to ration for the weekend ahead until the next PD. So
well, that's absolutely fine. So we'll be back with you soon with some more crazy 1984 Tuesday Night Titans. And it's been a blast.
It absolutely has. Thank you very much for joining us, Colin, and thank you for listening at home. And we'll do this all again next time.
Keep smiling, everyone. And do you know what that is? That's genius.
That's genius.
Genius. Get our hands out. Genius. Great. Genius. Right.